First day here, I'm being introduced to the people around me, and one of the older field engineers comes up to me and says, "What are you working here for? They're closing this place." That was a long time ago. They're not closing this place.
100 years in Paterson. Wow. Man, got me beat. Jeez. Man, 100 years. Wow. Man, this is like the beacon of Paterson, man. It's like when you think of Paterson, you think of Okonite.
I started working here in Paterson in 1974. I started as an hourly employee, but I was a splicer.
I started here in 1981. I think I started out as a paper taper. I've had multiple jobs.
Started as a general operator in the paper taping department, and I got to learn a lot of different machines.
So I started in 2005. I started in the stranding department as a supervisor and foreman. I moved my way up through there after about 10 years into lab work and doing some of the technical inspections. And then currently I'm working for CNR Writing.
When I came here in 2008, I was hired as a mechanic, not an electrician, because we already had electricians.
Started here in Paterson in the Cable Evaluation and Development Laboratory on August 7th, 1987. And I started as a technician in the lab, worked in that lab for a little over 18 years, being promoted to engineer in the various engineering levels before being brought into corporate headquarters in the Quality Assurance Department.
I started in Paterson back in 2011 as the plant engineer. Back then I took care of all the maintenance, take care of all the equipment, everything under the roof, including the roof.
I started here November 19th, 1973. I was fresh out of college and I came in here as a production control supervisor. I worked on day shift and I worked through the night shift, second shift, third shift. I was plant superintendent on the back shifts for a while, and then I came back on the day shift after a period of time.
I fell in love with it. It was the people, the product, the vital service the company provides. It was a privilege to be a part of all that.
The city is proud to have Okonite here, and it shows with all the resources. If you ever call the fire department, call the police, call anybody, they're here in 2 seconds. It's like they were sitting outside. Hopefully this place could be here another 100.
Well, when I started here, I had no intentions of staying. I was in school, I needed a job like everyone else. But immediately I fell in love with the product, the people, the manufacturing. It grew in me. It became a relationship for 43 years.
It's a great company. It's very family oriented. They take care of all their employees. They've done right by me on multiple occasions. When I had my twins, I wasn't up for vacation at the time. They went ahead and gave me vacation to go ahead and spend time with my wife and kids when we were having some issues there.
Every person here that works here knows when it's all over and you retire, you have a nice pension, you have pretty good next day for yourself to live a good life. And during the time you're working here, you do pretty good for yourself because Okonite takes care. Everybody gets taken care of, whether you're union, non-union, or you could be the security guard working outside. Okonite's good to everybody.
Well, there was always that feeling, Mr. Vigiano and Mr. Coppola in particular, they were the powers that be at that time. And I heard from many sources people had problems in their personal lives, and those two would step in and help them out, whether it's financially or any way possible. And that's something you don't often see.
When I first started here, I remember walking into the plant. They had the old DC lights up on the ceiling still. They weren't working very well. It was like a dull glow. But now we've modernized so much over the years. A lot of the equipment's been modernized. We used to have the old presses that were back from the 1800s. In many respects, Paterson has made a major transformation in the 36 years I've been with the company.
Around in 1977, 78, I saw expansion into what we call Building 29 here. We had a 35-ton crane, and that was swapped out for a 75-ton crane. And that was for the sole purpose of making cable for Con Edison. It was called the Sands Point Crossing. And it was a 345 kV cable, 7,500 foot lengths. And we manufactured them here. And those changes, along with a new impregnating tank to accommodate the real size, they were put in around 77 or 78 to accommodate the requirements of Con Edison in New York City.
We've introduced the higher voltage paper cables back all the way back in the 30s. We increased the voltage up to 345 kV. Part of our most significant projects, though, that's still out there today, the Statue of Liberty. Paterson was involved with the making of the cable that is used to light the Statue of Liberty. It's the one that's out there right now. We're also part of making the cable that is powering the Freedom Tower. So we are part of America just as much as we are part of this community.
So I was very hands-on. It was a very different atmosphere when we were making that cable. So everybody seemed to be a part of it. It was a great couple months that we had going through there. A lot of people that took that extra step to make sure that everything was done the way that it should be.
During World War II, the Paterson plant was a participant in the D-Day invasion. It was Operation Pluto. We contributed to the pipeline under the ocean, a hollow core cable that was able to bring fuel to the landing beaches in Normandy. So there's a lot of history to this plant, a lot for it to be proud of.
All major facilities, all major from California to Canada, all are powered by Okonite products. Things like that that make you proud. The major one was Alaska Pipeline. It was an engineering marvel. Miles of cable couldn't be transported to Alaska. So it had to be coiled up on railroad cars. No truck or anything else or ship, anything else could carry it. So we had railroad cars lined up this entire back street, coiled up coils of cable in one piece. So everybody was amazed how Okonite could have done that.
When I was an engineer in the high voltage lab, I was directly involved with the development of our laminate cable product. I was the engineer that tested the components of it, helped develop the technical requirements for our, what we call our LPP, or laminated polypropylene paper insulated cables. We started doing that in the late 1980s. That's when our first orders went out.
I tell my kids all the time, when their teachers say, what does he do at work? And I'm like, we give you power, we give you light. It's the stuff that we do that helps America keep going. It's very a crucial part of our infrastructure, so that anything that's going on is something that Okonite has had a part of for over 100 years.
That's a milestone. How many factories can say they've been in continuous operation for 100 years? Okonite acquired this facility, and in many respects, the product we are making today is very similar. It's a paper cable, just like we were making 100 years ago, only it's much better, a lot more refined, and still very relevant to the world today.
It's insane because I grew up across the street from here. And this has always been a beacon. Like even when the lights went out around the surrounding areas, this was the only place that had light. And to work here and to see that happen firsthand is amazing.
Detroit Edison to New York Power to public service, these are all customers that we've had for a long time and continue to do business with. And they provide all of our town and communities with power. Anything that we can do to help keep this going for another 100 years, I'm all for.
I can still see some of the things I worked on many years ago. Just going into the high voltage lab, I could see some of the equipment I purchased or developed that I could say I was a part of that. That's my legacy here in Paterson. I could walk around the Paterson plant, I could see some of the equipment. They have one of the old cabling lines, the 430 line, which is original equipment to this plant. I love watching that thing run.
Every year it gets better. We always strive to improve. So we've gotten a lot more cleaner. We got a lot more organized. We're striving to move safety up to our foresight and making sure that everybody is going home safely and that the job's done correctly.
I want Paterson to succeed. I am a Paterson person. I started my career here, and Paterson's always going to be a part of me. So its success is important to me. I love watching this plant do well, and we're going to do what we can to keep it running well in the future. I don't see it letting up. We're making developments every day here to improve this plant, make it more efficient, better place to work. It's changed over the years, but it's still always going to be Paterson.
I think this plant will be here forever. That's what I think. I think this plant will never close, that the Paterson plant will always be here.